Well, this is also like a podcast attempt in the time of a pandemic, right? So it's going to be a little bit different because we can't all sit around a table and record us. So
yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us live today with Sweaty Successful Moms, The Sweaty Truth. So you're here with myself, Kristen, one of the co-founders. You'll hear me talk a lot about holistic health, food, high vibrational foods. I'll talk about anything to do with stuff like that, living your best life and nourishing your mind, body, soul. Then you have Miriam, who will be talking about, she does Miriam Maison live on Facebook. She's our holistic living expert, DIY, detox and declutter in the home. And then we have Leslie, who is our spiritual leader. So she helps you get clear to listen to your intuition. You can join her on Mondays with Leslie's Living Room. And today we're super excited because we have Melissa Abrasamoff, almost, not quite.
Abrasamoff, it's great.
That's good. I wanted to practice. So the business doula, we're really excited to have her here as a guest. She's been joining us in our Meaningful More program. So it's been really awesome connecting with her every week. And then she's also been helping us with side stuff with Sweaty Successful Moms. I only got 3 hours of sleep after my night shift today, so I'm a little bit slurry.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
So, so today we're going to talk about a few things. We just want to kind of recap our mission if you're joining us and just kind of new to who we are. So our mission is to create a community that believes in raising leaders who are wholeheartedly connected to the earth. And we believe when moms live with peace, passion, and purpose and lead from their hearts, they can teach their children to do the same and change the world. And right now, we need that more than ever. So we're going to come on here weekly and do these live videos. We want you to interact and ask questions as we kind of, get kind of deeper into the sweaty truth. So there we go.
So say hi to Shirley, because Shirley's watching us live. She came to the FU Summit.
Yes. Hi, Shirley.
Yeah. Hi, Shirley.
So feel free to comment and give hearts when you like what we're talking about. You can give whatever faces are on there, throw some icons in. Feel free to participate.
Okay. So where do we start? We start with the Meaningful More first. I don't know if some people kind of like really know about that. That is a program the 3 of us created this past year. And it really is, we think it's pretty unique because it's a program that encompasses mind, body, and spirit. You can have a lot of programs, that talk about just nutrition, or a lot of programs that focus like solely on the spirit part, or maybe programs that focus just on your home. But with the 3 of us, we've come together and collaborated and created something that is all encompassing and all interconnected. So we're super excited about that. That helps take, the busy mom that's maybe feeling exhausted and confused to feeling, confident and just fully reconnected to herself and her voice. I don't know. Melissa, sometimes we find it's a little bit confusing to explain. It might be a little bit even easier to talk about.
Well, I'm going to try, but I feel I'm going to try, but I feel like it's truly one of those things you kind of have to experience. It's almost like trying to describe the feeling you get when your stomach drops in a roller coaster. You know what I mean? It's like until you live it, it's hard to experience. But I'll try my best. Where do you want me to start? I think
before you start, I'm going to highlight something that I think, to identify like what Kristen was talking about, there's a magic that we were able to create, us, like the 3 of us combining together. And I think what we uncovered what the actual truth is behind all of it, behind why we feel lost, behind why we feel lonely, behind why we struggle with our nutrition, why we struggle with exercise. And it unleashes your own inner wisdom. So I think what would be really cool, maybe if you want to share, like, what has been some inner wisdom that has like come out of this for you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Okay, I'm gonna back up and tell you about my hesitancies when I started and how they were gone within the first module, if that's okay.
Yeah, they're great.
So I already knew you 3 and knew of the program, and I was really excited to kind of dive in and take it. Just after having a year, all last year was pretty tough, and just being like, what am I doing? What do I want to be when I grow up? Having trouble kind of validating my efforts in my day-to-day life, if that makes any sense. And I was coming from a place of wanting more and being continually kind of let down by different programs I was trying or seeing, because it just wasn't the right approach, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. So when we came together for Meaningful More, I literally had been manifesting, I just want meaning. I want to know that what I'm doing is within my purpose. I want to know that the way I'm feeling is serving my soul in the right way. And then we connected, which is wonderful. And then our very first module, I realized, I'm like, this is a place of curiosity. It is so applicable. It's going to apply to everybody, because my own questions, I already had the answers, and you three helped me peel back the layers. Does that make any sense? Yeah. That instead of me continually looking externally to be like, tell me my answers, right? Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing right. Everything about the Meaningful More program was like this beautiful landing zone of curiosity that you three helped me uncover. And I think that there was such a power in that. And I can't even really say one thing, because like if you go through my notebook that I've used for this, it is like, just like there's pictures, there's doodles, there's notes everywhere, there's words circled a million times on one page that I really loved, things that we uncovered, or things that you three were able to share your perspective to put things into perspective in my own life. So you're not telling me how to do things or why I should or should not do things. You were kind of mirroring what I was experiencing and allowing me to gauge that where I needed to in my life. And go ahead.
You had a hesitancy for the program with, I remember you kind of wondering, and you're like, you know so much about holistic health already. Like you've gone down the rabbit hole. You've like, experienced the explosion of health in your own life, and doing the research, and you're very analytical. And I know you had a kind of hesitancy of like, is this going to be at my level? Is it going to be too simple? And then how does that fit for other people? Like, is it going to be too narrow? So what was your experience in that aspect?
Oh my gosh, like 5-star Yelp review. So I was, I was thinking, you outlined that perfectly. And I don't want to say it from a place of ego that it's like, I think I know everything. But I feel like when you start to when this awareness starts to grow in you, and I think it happens for everyone, maybe just at completely different times, you get to a point that you're like, is this even going to apply to me? Is this going to be effective for where I'm at now? And just going through, like, so watching the videos that you guys sent out and then going through the worksheets and then actually having our time together, it was so clear that there is no one way to do this for every person. Like, it was so easy for me to adapt to where I'm at, but also keeping in mind where I want to be, like what my end game is, like how evolved do I want to be? How enlightened do I want to become? And it wasn't like, check this box, you're here. It was, the whole program was made to be so, is versatile maybe the right word? So that, in areas that I might not have been as strong in, there was no shame, there was no guilt. I could drop down to where I was and work on what I needed to work on. And then when it came time to work on things that I thought maybe I mastered already, it's like, well, how can I fine tune it? And what could I maybe be doing better?
Yeah, like one of the things, if you're okay that I share, is that like, for those of you watching, so Brandy's on.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Brandy.
Shirley's still here.
Hi, Brandy.
So as many women, we become very detail oriented to making sure we're checking off the boxes in our life. So this is actually
I know where you're going with this.
This is a common theme that we have, that women have. And I think women that are attracted to sweaty, successful moms is because we all are striving for something. And whatever you're striving for is unique to you. But we all fall into this category where often we want to check the boxes of like, did I do my exercise? Check. Did I eat well? Check. Did I eat perfectly today? Check. Did I watch no TV? Check. Did I watch my social media? Like all these check marks. And so Kristen coined the term liforexia. Can you talk about liforexia, Kristen?
I think it came from talking about a symptom around food that is called orthorexia. So a lot of people have heard of, anorexia, mental health, like, illness with food, but orthorexia is also an illness with food when you get so obsessed with healthy eating and all the rules and all the restrictions and doing everything properly that it actually creates like more stress, on your life and your food and your diet and your health, and it actually deteriorates your health. Like you're trying to do all these things right to be healthy, and it's actually making you unhealthy. And we find that's the thing with like in life, it's like, okay, well, I got to exercise, I have to eat right, well, I got to fit in the meditating, I got to do my gratitude journals, then I got to do this and spend time with my kids, and also spend time, you know, self-care and spend time with family. And it's like and it starts to get overwhelming trying to do all the things you think you should do to be, you know, a better person, or to be healthy, live this holistic life and be all these things, that it actually creates more stress on yourself and takes away from like who you are and actually living life in the moment and actually, like, you know, being the best version of yourself.
And that was my realization. I was a liporexic and I didn't know. I didn't really realize, because that's why I came in thinking like, oh, well, you know, I'm pretty natural minded. I'm pretty holistic minded. So we'll just see how it goes. And then I found out that I was shitting myself to death, right? Like, it's like, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And then I was crippling myself and doing none of the things. And I think the beautiful part of the program helped me dismantle the structure that I thought I needed in order to be productive or to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And I became wildly productive when I learned how to unwrap all that, and where I needed the structure and where I didn't need the structure. And then when we brought in ritual versus the routine, I should be doing something. And then the COVID-19 BS happened. And then luckily we had already completed that part of the program, that I had a couple huge epiphanies or aha moments that I was like, okay, now we can adapt it to the chaos we're experiencing right now, which was very helpful. I feel very fortunate I started the program when I did, that I didn't have to start it this second.
I want to point out something really interesting is, because we all do this, is that you were actually already almost there. Like you had actually already implemented some areas where you were feeling your way through the day and not just structuring it. But I think it was actually being able to identify where you're already doing, because as women, this is again a common theme. It's so easy for us to say, I was just not doing anything right. Right. And then now I am. So it's really just to like anyone watching to know that if you feel like you're doing everything wrong, I want you to take a second, like right now, and just be like, what are you doing right? Because you are doing things that are right.
So many things.
There's probably just a few tweaks that we want to make. It's not about overhauling your entire life. It's about unleashing the little bits that connect all the pieces together so that you can feel like you're living a meaningful life. You already are living a meaningful life. Everybody is. But it's getting those pieces together so you can actually feel it.
I think it's too, it helps you avoid the downward spiral in tough times. Does that make any sense? So like I might have been almost there, but I was there like teetering on a tippy toe on one foot on the edge of a cliff. Whereas now I feel firmly planted, that I'm not going to get thrown off my course, or my meaningful more is not going to be lost with a teeny bit of adversity, if that makes any sense. Like it's not fragile anymore. It's much more solid.
Yeah, no, it makes so much sense actually. And interesting enough that you use that analogy, because I went on a run yesterday before work, and I had all these, like, it's like the only time where my thoughts slow down and come clear. And I wrote Leslie an email of like all these thoughts that came into my head that I had to get out. And it was about, sometimes it's so easy to get wrapped up in, basically I had to imagine an apple seed. I had this activity I had to do for this program I'm taking. I had to imagine an apple seed, close my eyes and picture its growth. And when I pictured its growth, I like thought I was doing all these things, making it warm, having the sprout come out, then, you know, the trunk was forming, the branches were forming, there was leaves, and then the beautiful apples came. And I was like so proud of this apple tree that I grew in my head from like this little seed. But then on my run, I had this realization that, because when we talked about the activity, I was like, oh, I didn't grow the roots. That's odd that I would forget that step. And then I was like, oh, I skipped the buds and the blossoms before the apples came. I was like, weird, these little things you take for granted. I was like so excited, I guess, you know, in the activity, growing, you know, the trees and making the beautiful apples, getting that fruit and, you know, making it big, that I forgot about like the basic part that is essential to growth, and that's the roots. And why that's important is because you need to have the roots. You need to know who you are. You need to be strong in who you are. You need to be connected to who you are. And that's also your surroundings, your family, all these like community, all these kind of like nurturing things that are going to hold you firm into the ground, keep you, you know, solid into the earth, keep you connected. And then, and only then, can you start growing like from the top and having all these, you know, amazing ideas and all this growth. Because then when a storm does come or anything comes, nothing is going to come and like knock you down. You're going to stay like rooted where you are, rooted to your core. You know, things might get blown off the top of the tree, but you're going to stay exactly where you are. And I also noticed that like with skipping the buds and the blossom and going straight to the apples is a thing for me because of patience. I always want, and Leslie's laughing because she knows with everything that we do, and Miriam too. I just want to get there. I don't, you know, sometimes I forget about how important the journey is to get to, you know, the fruits and those end stages of those end goals. Like I just sometimes get so impatient because I want all these things to happen now. But you need to have that whole journey, and you need to enjoy the journey to appreciate, you know, the fruits at the end of it. So anyways, that was kind of like a realization that came to me yesterday, and kind of applicable to what you're talking about with like being knocked over and being, you know, kind of like connected and firm and strong.
Well, and like what's cool, like look at us right now. Like let's just look at Sweaty Successful Moms. We've spent the last 3 years like really growing roots for ourselves and for our passion project. And right now during this like stressful time, what's happening? Like we're actually connecting more. We're more passionate about sharing our message. Like we have a solid trunk that's like, you can't throw us down. So that's really cool, Kristen. I just feel so powerful, even you describing that and then seeing our journey as Sweaty Successful Moms, that like we put the effort into the roots, and we're in a stressful time right now, and we're standing strong, and we're standing strong together, like, you know, with the three of us, but then also with the community, like with Melissa, with people that are watching, with our Facebook group, and also women that we've connected with like one-on-one and things like that. So it's just, you know, even as you're talking, like I'm having a big aha of like, yes, this is awesome. And this is why this is a time where I feel empowered personally, when it could be a time where I feel really uneasy and unsteady. How about you, Miriam?
I was just actually picturing when Kristen was talking about the tree and what you were just saying. Like we have had a journey, like you were saying, like you need some patience, and sometimes you have some fall back, and sometimes there might be a frost, and then your buds are falling, but they'll come back. And but when you have the foundation, then you can stand up again and then start building again. If the roots are planted, then you can build it and you can continue to grow. I was just listening to something yesterday. They were talking about I'm just thinking community right now, how the trees are actually all interlink. I'm sure some of you have heard that, how they're all communicating through the roots and fungi. And so without without their communities are actually much weaker than without the communities are very weak. There's studies showing that the trees, when they're actually close to each other, are stronger. And I think that's also a beautiful representation how important the community is, the outer community, like people that you're close with, and how we need to have our own roots, but we are also in need of the others to be able to continue to grow and lead with peace and purpose and passion in our hearts. And I think that's something that we really worked really hard on with the Sweaty Successful Moms. Like we've built something quite incredible.
I think that's an important piece, Miriam, that you say for the Meaningful More program. My experience was going in. I know you can't control other people, but it's really easy to focus on your external factors around you. But the Meaningful More program was more like like functional medicine. It looks like at the whole picture. It doesn't just look at one ailment. It looks at the whole body, the whole picture. This is kind of like functional therapy for you to look at your whole picture of you, who you are and what you're contributing, and how to live your life in a way that you don't need to worry about what other people are doing or thinking or what they're bringing in, because you've created this wonderful hub that people will want to be a part of your life, right? You like attracts like, and will bring those people in. But you're right. Like the Meaningful More was there was so much more community in that program than I was expecting, just because it allowed me to process my thoughts in a way that it wasn't like, why are they doing this? This is driving me nuts, right? It's like, no, I'm reacting this way because of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Like, so we talked about, Miriam had also mentioned creating the foundations. And that was one of the things when we created the Meaningful More, we realized, like we're so busy trying to do all the things. We're so busy in life-orexia that we're disconnected from our voice. Like we're disconnected from the earth. We're disconnected from community. And just kind of like disconnected from it all. I think I had a quote I put out yesterday, like we've never been more connected with social media, yet we've never been more disconnected from everything. And so that was one of the things we wanted to do, was create awareness of bringing people like back into connection to themselves, connection to the earth, connection to community, and creating those foundational tools that you can always come back to. Because let's be honest, like when we created this program because of things that we needed in our life and things that we used and things that helped us, like that's where it came from, and things that we continue to still use almost daily, because life is a roller coaster, and it's always going to be that way. And some days you're like winning it, and then some days maybe not. But having the foundation there, it's easy to be like, okay, what do I need to do? What did I learn? What's in my toolkit? And you come back to those lessons and you pull them out, and you're like, okay, now I know. Now I can get reconnected. Now I can come back to myself, come back to this, and then move on. But we're always kind of dipping back in and pulling on those tools and that foundation. But it's creating that foundation of connection to yourself and the earth, and having that awareness where you can always know you can come back to it. Once you know what that feels like, it's easier to come back to it.
I think that's one of the joyful things of the Meaningful More program is the three of you, that you don't come at this with any ego. You're not like, we've mastered this and here's what you need to do. Like, it's not that environment. It is a very safe, comfortable environment that welcomes authenticity, but also vulnerability, which was terrifying for me. I'm really good at not being vulnerable, like professional A++. So I think that you guys created such a beautiful environment in this program that just was welcoming, and it allowed people, it allowed me to just explore what I needed to explore. And you three kept it so relatable and so real and authentic. And it wasn't, we're up here and you should probably be here at some point or else you're failing, right? It wasn't a hierarchy is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of fun when we're on our calls, we're all of us together, because of the dynamic. So for example, for myself, when I'm talking with you, Melissa, I'm intuitively picking up on what you need, but it's always something that I have to learn from as well. So it's not coming from some of it comes from stories of oh, I've been there and this is where this is where I am now and this is what I did to overcome it. But most of it comes from intuitively picking up on your inner wisdom that you need to connect with, or that you get to connect with, and I get to connect with it too. And then pulling on, Kristen has so much valuable information that we also need. Sometimes we need to be in information zone to move us to the next step or overcome whatever obstacle we have. And then Miriam just somehow beautifully ties everything together. And I think that's why you have Miriam's Maison, because a home holds it all. It encompasses everything. And I don't know, I enjoy the calls that we have to bring all of that out and how it works together.
I think the program embraces that divine feminine, right? That energy and the power between women that we don't ever discuss, or maybe not discuss as much as we should with the general public who's not in the Meaningful More program, because they think you're witches and burn you at the stake. But but it is so important, and it's amazing what the effect a single call can have. If anyone's watching and you haven't yet spoken to one of the three to have a heart-to-heart, or just even see if this program's right for you, just do that step. Just gift yourself that step of reaching out and just saying, what more could I be doing with my life? And it doesn't mean doing like checking boxes. It means living outside of liferexia. It's very free.
Yeah, and I think, Melissa, as you said, this program is called A Meaningful More for that reason. Like, it's not adding one more thing on the to-do list or on the thing you should be doing. It's actually going back to what's meaningful to you, and find those and have a meaningful, more meaningful, not that your life is not meaningful, but just adding one of those meaningful things to your life so that you feel empowered and passionate and calm, and that you can strive through life using those roots and meaningful tools that you have. So that's really important. It's not like, oh yeah, let's do this and that and that. It's really going back to the roots and what's meaningful and what's important to you to bring up who you are. I would like to shine so that yourself, who you are is shining out completely.
Right.
Like who you are can overflow.
Yeah.
Because you're not depleted, right? Like Kristen talks a lot about like when your cup can actually overflow so that you can serve others in like a bigger way when you're really connected to who you are. So thanks for the shout out, Melissa. So for people that are, for women that are watching, so we do offer we have a free Creating Clarity call that we gift to women in our lives, women in our community. And the hardest step is saying yes to you and no to your busy life. Even in this time of isolation, we all know it's way busier. Spend the whole day with our kids. Mine are outside the window right now. The truth is the hardest thing is to actually book a call, because we're usually afraid of like, well, what is it going to look like? What are they going to help me? What are they going to uncover? And most women on that are afraid we're going to uncover that you're not a good person. And the truth is that we have never connected with a woman that we have felt that they're a failure or they're not good enough or they're, that they're a bad person. We've never, ever, ever picked up on that, because the truth is, like, if you are part of this community, it's because your vibration is in the same place. Like, you are a fabulous human and you deserve to have time for you. So we do give you a challenge to use our time, book a call with us, because it's also what we love to do, because we love connecting with our community. That's why we created Sweaty Successful Moms, and that's why we created the Meaningful More.
And it's more affordable than therapy. So there's that. Like, as someone who would, like, I've tried a lot of different things. I'm just saying I got a lot more out of this program and without severe emotional turmoil. So I'm like, there's a lot of added perks. You could do it from the comfort of your own home too, which is kind of nice right now.
Yes. Yeah. And we've loved our calls with you, Melissa, and we look forward to them weekly. So because you mentioned how like you get off and the calls and you feel like so much better, but we feel so much better. Like, we feel so much more like energized and just refreshed. And it's just, I don't know. And right now it's just so amazing to be able to like have Zoom and to be able to connect and, share stories and where we're at. So yeah, I don't know. We would love to connect with people. We can send out some information if you're interested. Message us. We'll send a little link out, and I don't know. We just want to connect and have those meaningful conversations with more people.
And feel free to ask me anything too about the program. I might not get too personal. I might get kind of personal. I don't know. TMI. We had to talk about breakdowns or breakthroughs or whatever, but I don't mind answering questions about the program, because
and that's probably a good segue. Melissa, you can probably say like where people can find you and exactly what you do. Like, you have been helping us like exponentially doing the behind the scenes kind of with business consulting and helping us move forward and giving us like all these like ideas and things to help push us forward, and you have been invaluable to us lately. So how can people find you?
If people want to find me, I'm on Facebook under my name, Melissa Brosimoff, although I've been heavily censored lately, so it might be trouble finding me. But you'll see my link probably in this video, right? So you can always click on that link. You can find me on Instagram at Melissa_Brosimoff, which I can also share the link on after, like on the recorded version of this. But I really thrive on working with women who feel stuck. It's like a challenge, because I think that it's almost impossible for women to truly ever be stuck. They're just in a situation, which is why I loved this program so much, that it helps uncover all the layers so you can get done what you need to get done in your life, live your best life. So the reason I'm the business doula is I started with a business background, became a doula, and was still spending all my time helping other doulas evolve their business and build their business, because I think women serving women is incredibly important in our lives. So that is still my focus. I doula you through your business or through your trials around your small business, even everything from brainstorming to execution of things like websites that you don't want to do, or social media that you're unsure about. I'm not naming names.
Thank
But the
you
point
for
is
the
that
push.
but it's fun and it's intuitive business. It's not about following a certain guideline. I rely very heavily on my intuition when I work with people, because I think that is the only way to get people in a space that they are excited about their own power when it comes to business. So it's all intuition, very loving. It's not any hardcore sales tactics where I'm going to yell at you and be like, you need to book this many cold calls. It's all nice. It's fun.
Sometimes there's a little bit of firm voice. No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes.
But sometimes there's a little
but
bit.
You know what? I haven't made anyone
this is what
cry
you need
yet.
to do. No.
I haven't made anyone cry yet, so we're okay. Well, not mean cry. So
Yes.
okay. But I'm never mean.
No, never. We just love you. And I think it's important to point out that, because I think a little bit confused at first with we thought you kind of like worked with mostly doulas, but then we kind of like had that aha moment of like, no, that's not it at all. So just so other people may be wondering the same thing.
Yeah, that's how it started, and it just kind of kept evolving. I work with everybody at this point.
You help people birth their business. That's
exactly.
the business doula. It took me a while to go, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Because my name was confusing enough, right? So I just added some more words in there to really throw people off. Like, good luck spelling Abrasimov.
Yeah. So I want to, if we have a couple more minutes, I do want to ask you, because it kind of came to me, seeing some of the fabulous faces that are on here. Hi, Becky. Hi, Angela. Because I know all four of us, what spurred us to call the podcast The Sweaty Truth is we're going to continue, and you're going to see each week, we're going to continue to reveal more and more of what is our personal truth. And I know that, like you mentioned, so you just mentioned that, you are heavily censored on Facebook because you speak the truth. I know we had attended a protest a peaceful protest in Toronto, and your Facebook was shut down because you were actually connecting with women and supporting them
via private messages. Via private messages. It wasn't even public.
Private messages.
Yes.
On Messenger. Just say where the private messages were. Yeah.
On
private messages on Messenger.
Private messages on Messenger to attend a peaceful protest.
And it was an invitation. It wasn't any data. It wasn't anything. It was just, hey, this is going on. If you're interested in having
let's carpool.
Yeah, let's carpool.
Right. So what I want to kind of bring up about that is just that I wanted to just kind of give everyone a little bit of a background and just kind of a sneak peek of some more things that we're going to be getting into on The Sweaty Truth as we reveal more of our personal truths and help you uncover your personal truths for people watching. But Melissa, because, you really are stepping into a version of you that, what do you say? You do not ask, something like say, you don't ask permission?
Oh, actually I can. Is that
actually
right?
I can?
So that was one of my big ahas with the program, is that I've lived my whole life waiting for permission from people. And on January 5th, I made a beautiful vision board, kind of pissed off right now because it was all about travel. So, but in the very center of my vision board, it says, actually I can. And we were working through the program. And then one day I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what's holding me back. I'm waiting for permission from everybody all the time. And if someone gives me any then I'm like, okay, you're right. I hate confrontation. So I shut it down. I'm like, no, actually I can share what I know to be true. And I can help others.
So I want to ask you, what are maybe a couple or one practical tip that women who are wanting to be their authentic self unapologetically, what are maybe some tips from your own inner wisdom, maybe some stuff that's been revealed to you recently? How can other women be authentically, uniquely who they are and not be afraid of the rejection?
Wow. Okay. So I don't know if
Well, that's a loaded one.
Break that down.
That's loaded because they have to take the meaningful more, because then by like the third module, then they'll be like, oh, I got this, right? Like it's really hard to get someone there quickly. But I think the idea is you surround yourself not only with like-minded people, right? Because then we make an echo chamber. We're always just feeding each other. And then we run the risk of being closed off to pertinent information about everything in life. So I think that it comes down to is I just started asking myself, do I feel that this is my truth, or am I silencing myself to please others? Because Dr. Christine Northrup's daughter, I forget her name, she's amazing. She said, I'm not here to please you. It was like all over.
Kate Northrup.
Yes, thank you, Kate Northrup. She said, I'm not here to please you. And that really resonated with me. And since like I watched that video during your program and I was like, oh my gosh, all the pieces are falling together, because the universe is always conspiring in our favor, right? To show us what we need to learn. So I was like, I do always do that. I stay quiet because I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to get into it with anybody, but I'm like, I'm always being silenced, which is kind of what women have experienced like forever. And if I don't want that for my daughter and her daughters, I got to stop it. Like I got to stop. I don't need to be confrontational. I get to tell my truth in my own way, but actually I can, and I'm not here to please anybody else, period.
I love that. I love that quote too. It's just like so powerful. Like actually I can. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. And I think we're a little bit late, but are you okay to go late a little bit later? Because
I'm okay.
Okay.
Miriam,
okay.
We know you have.
I'm good.
Like I'm literally not allowed to leave the house. So
yeah, because what I wanted, we kind of put in the title and we kind of got like talking as we do, you know. We wanted to talk about that. Yeah, we wanted to talk about that awareness and the journey to get there, because I think it's so powerful. I was listening to another podcast last night with 3 doctors, which like Dr. Andy Kaufman, Kelly Brogan, and another doctor who's new to me, and they talked about their awareness, like how they went through all their training and then all of a sudden had this like aha moment and started to kind of like be more aware and open up to whole other ideas and literature and research, and that led them to where they are now. And we were having this conversation last week on one of our weekly calls. And it was just kind of like, how did we get to where we were, and like, what was our journey? And I don't know, I think it's important if we kind of like end this talk with just sharing our story, so people know of like, this doesn't happen overnight. It's not like this is kind of like, where we were. Maybe that was for some people, but I think for all 4 of us, we all had a different kind of like aha moment to bring us to where we are. Yeah, Melissa, do you want to start us off? Because you're kind of already talking about that. We're going to keep putting you on the spot.
Want me to start?
Yeah.
Are we talking about like the big V or like all things holistic?
Just all things.
When you would have shunned someone else for believing what you now believe.
Oh my God. I want to go back. I want to go back to 20-year-old Melissa and just be like, shut up. You know nothing. You're ignorant, you're closed-minded and judgmental, and you know nothing. Just give it 16 years and you were going to be like, I'm so embarrassed, because I'm so embarrassed. Like I'm a doula that like fights against obstetric violence. I've helped women for 10 years have empowered births on their own terms. It doesn't have to be the way I picture birth to be. But I really want to reduce the amount of trauma that women feel in all aspects of their life. But if you would have asked me at 22 what I thought about home birth, I don't even want to repeat it on video that could be used against me. Like I just wasn't there. And then people who, didn't vaccinate their kids, they should have their kids taken away. Like I had these wild views that were passed down. I grew up super strictly Catholic. And it was like, I turned a certain age and I just started saying why. And when someone would shut me up that I've had my whole life, like I'd be like, well, if God does this, then why this? And then my super religious family would be like, shut it down. It would make me ask why. And now I just stopped caring that someone shut me down. So I would just look for the information I was looking for, whether it was religion, whether it's pregnancy related, having my own children, helping people have their own children, taking my very small teeny daughter, because I'm not that big of a person, to the doctor, and they pull out a chart, not willing to look at her. And they're telling me that the chart has more pertinent information than actually looking at my daughter. It just started raising red flags, and her spitting up and them telling me breast milk can be very toxic to babies and she should be formula fed. And here's a prescription for reflux medication. I was a first-time mom and I had a lot of feelings around that, but I just kept saying like, well, why? And no one could give me answers. So when you're a critical thinker and you start asking why, and you're not getting the answers you start looking for your answers. I'm like, I don't want an information sheet. I want to know specific ingredients. I want to know why we use the sketch we use. I want to know exactly how they work. So I also studied exactly how the immune system worked. I also studied weight gain. I studied, exclusive breastfeeding modules to see like studies over kids of all ages. Cause I'm like, oh my God, my breast milk's toxic. And now, so it just started, I just kept asking why. And when I didn't get the answers I wanted, and especially if someone got irate with me, it was a huge red flag, like in a crummy relationship, when you're like, ding, 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 I need to look deeper. And that was when it just snowballed. Like my snowball's huge. It just keeps rolling down the hill.
Bigger and bigger. That momentum starts. Once that momentum starts, it's just like, it's gonna take you with it now. Yeah. Like, there's no stopping it.
And there's no going back. There's no going back once you open your eyes to saying, I will consent to being kept in the dark anymore about anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what about Kristen for you?
Oh, okay. Well, this was kind of I realized like I had always been at a very young age very connected to outdoors and nature and being outside and wanting to learn more about the environment and explore and do all these things. Like I had read this book once called Alaska, and it was about these group of like young scientists that went out like canoeing and adventuring through like the ragged terrain of Alaska, getting water samples and testing it and doing all this cool stuff. I don't remember what it was. It was a neat book. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, I want to do that. And I did this course even called the Brawny Creek Project, which was in high school, and you got 4 high school credits. But I lived every day. I got driven into like this like little shack on this river and underneath the escarpment, Brawny Creek area, kind of like outside of Burlington. And, we like made our meals together every morning, our little classroom. We had magic spots, which is where we went to like journal. I would sit on this little root of this tree that like hung over the river. And we just learned about the earth and the environment, all these things. And then, but it just didn't seem to fit with the people around me, I guess, in society, and just having that kind of like wannabe like hippiness. It just it didn't seem to fit. Like I felt always like I never felt like I fit in, and always kind of the outcast. And they was like, okay, after high school you have to pick your job, and I was like, hey, what do I want to do? Environmental sciences. Oh well, apparently there's no job, no money, and whatever. Go into nursing because there's you can travel, get a job anywhere, it's great pay, you can get to help people. I was like, okay, it sounds good. So went into nursing and learned all this like amazing things, but I always felt like there was something missing, and I never knew what it was. And people were always like, if I could do something else, like maybe, I have no idea what that is. I don't know. Just the passion was like missing. But I got, so all the stuff I learned, I took it all in, and then all of a sudden, I started like living it and breathing all that information, everything that I learned, because it was, that's what was being taught. There was like all like, that's, people were teaching this. They had studied it for like hundreds of years. They knew this stuff, and I went out and worked and did it. And then it wasn't until my first son was born that I was on mat leave. So I got a break from work, from shift work. I got to like, actually focus on like exercising, time at home, going to workshops, doing the things I love. He would sleep in my arms because that's, why not? He was my first, didn't have anywhere to go. So I didn't really nap train him or anything. So he spent a lot of time sleeping in my arms. So I started watching a lot of documentaries, because especially when he got close to eating, I was like, well, I'm solely responsible for what goes into his body, and what goes into his body has the ability to shape his entire like future. Like it was a big responsibility. And as I know now, the first 1,000 days is so important to a child's life when it comes to nutrition and food and all that stuff. So I dove deep down that rabbit hole. And, as Melissa said, you start that snowball. Once one door opens, then you have to open another one. Then you open another one, and then it just
it's the
takes
matrix.
You.
It is the matrix.
And then it just takes you. And once there's, like you said, there's no going back. And once now like you can't keep your eyes closed anymore. And I just became like, wow. And that was just like food and chemicals and things that I was doing, like, personally. Yeah. And then, yeah. And I was like, wow. And then it was interesting because, well, Leslie, it's okay if I share, when I first met Leslie, we had been like differing views. I was still like getting so much more connected to who I was, like back to that nature, loving self of my, and the environment, like getting back to kind of my earlier self. But I still had some like blocks that I had been ingrained in me from, years in like nursing and all these things. That when I met Leslie, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if we can be friends. Like, how does she believe this stuff? And I was just like, it made me like angry. Like I was still like so passionate about it, even though I was starting to uncover all these other things. There were still some doors that were still remaining closed. And it took one person, a colleague, another nurse, that was like, well, actually, like, I've been looking into this too. And I was like, what? Like, I know how researched you are and how educated you are and like book smart and all these things and so highly respected. And I was like, well, if you can think this way, like, what does that mean? So again, another door opened. And then that was a whole other like path that I took down. And yeah, I just been kind of like keep going with it. Now I just want to learn more. Like you said, learn more about the immune system. I've been like, that's always been a passion of mine, immune system, especially with children and learning about kids and, creating a healthy foundation for kids so they can thrive in their life. And then now I just want to learn more. Now I'm taking in all this stuff about contagion and Cox postulates and learning about, exosomes and all these things. I just like, I've just been taking in a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, so anyways, that's a long
and
story.
I think Kristen, I think Kristen and I have almost like an opposite journey. Like I started out so heavily in like, so school oriented, so people pleasing oriented. I had spent like the majority of my life, I always wanted to fit in. And so I would learn people's personalities and how can I fit in with them so that they like me. And school, I wanted to please my parents because I wanted to do well in school. And I am not a naturally smart person. So I had to actually like put
don't say that. You're smart. You're not academic.
I had to put so much effort into school that I forgot, like I didn't remember anything about who I was or what my feelings were or any of those sensations. And I had, when I graduated college, so I also played competitive volleyball. So that added another element of being busy and people pleasing. Then I had a month off between graduating from school and being able to start working as an x-ray tech. And in that time period, it was just like this awareness that I have no idea who I am. I have no idea how I feel, but I know how to study and I know how to use my intellectual mind. And I decided that I would continue to enrich my intellectual mind, but I would equally put some boundaries around the intellect and say, well, what does my intuition say? What does my body say? What do my feelings say? And again, like Kristen, there's certain elements that I still wasn't like, it's not like every door opened at once. So for example, like someone said to me that you can only someone said to me that you could heal cancer like holistically. And I bawled my eyes out because I was like, no, you can only use radiation. You could only use chemotherapy. And there's no other way because that is what the books were telling me at the time. Again, 20-year-old self, quite ignorant. And the more I just decided to feel my way through, one, I stopped people pleasing and got to live more of my authentic self. And two, the amount of things that I've uncovered, knowledge, wisdom, right? Not just information, wisdom has been a huge benefit in my life. And the more that I uncover truth, the more I experience love. So when we talk about like the rabbit hole and the spiral and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, that actually sounds scary, but the truth is it's freeing because when you know the truth, you can experience the most amount of love instead of living in this boundaried zone of like, always having to protect the ego and always having to be right.
Yeah.
So I had this term that I used and I said it was follow the niggles. Because ultimately I'm still a goal-oriented person. I like to set a goal and I like to achieve it. But what helps me to feel more and less linear accomplishments is to say follow the niggles. So if someone says something, how much I won't use it a long example. Someone says something like, why don't you go to this yoga class? Again, before I'd ever done yoga. The niggle goes, okay, know nothing about yoga, obviously not where I'm at now, but I went to a yoga class. Some like anything like that, I just followed the niggles. If someone's like, oh, do you want to go to this talk? Yeah, I do. Oh, I'm going to learn about GMO foods and how, our corrupt farming industry, which has nothing to do with the farmers and has way more to do with feeding the farmers. Like farmers are doing a really good job. Thank you, all farmers. So for me, it was follow the niggles.
Wait, can you just explain what the niggles are?
Niggles is like, I actually think there's like anything that's curious, like any curiosity. So it's like this feeling of like, I don't know why I'd say yes to this, but there's something in me that says, like, is it like I should lean in and do it?
Like you're being piqued, like your interest is being piqued.
I'm gonna have to Google the definition of niggles.
Was it an actual word? I thought it was something you made up.
No,
oh, okay.
No, it's a word. It is a word. So why don't you share while I Google what a niggle is?
Sure. So I think I've always been like a little hippie. Like I grew up in Europe, like quite a few of you know, and in France. So we're really, I'd say, probably much more connected to food, at least when I grew up, than in North America. There's a lot of cooking and growing, and my parents have always, my dad has built our house. Like I've always seen my parents working with the hand and creating things with their hand. So not so much consuming type of life, but more like a creating productive type of life, and then be also connected to the environment. Like we were always outside, and I always loved to be outside. But interestingly, when I had to go to university, I had no idea what I wanted, and I did go see specialists. We did a ton of tests and say you should do business school. I'm like, okay, I don't know what else to do, so let's just go to business school, which I've gone along and done my things, but I never thought this was my passion or anything. And when I moved to Canada 14 years ago, I was expecting, I think what I was looking for, because I was being attracted by the outdoors and outside, and I had this picture of Canada being this country, so it was everyone so connected to nature, because what you think of Canada when you've never been there is that everyone goes camping and everyone goes in the park and everything is green and you have those incredible landscapes. And
so you pictured British Columbia.
Yes.
Yeah. Or maybe Quebec. Like northern Quebec or things like this, which for French people would probably what was in my mind. And then I came here in London, Ontario, and I kind of fell off my chair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I here? And I realized that Canadians were at that time not that connected to the environment, not really, like recycling was to nothing, and the consumerism was quite important. So I don't know, I just continued my little life and built things and planted my veggie garden and continued doing things that were more in tune with me and trying to be more aligned with what I enjoyed. But I don't think I had found really, I felt a little bit like a hippie and a little bit out of, the norm, or I would call me abnormal anyway, who is normal to move by herself to Canada alone. That's already is a little bit crazy. But when I reached a point in my life when I had my 2 kids and I was pretty much alone, taking care of them, working and all of this, and I was at my wit's end, and I thought I needed change to be able to make it through and have a meaningful life. And that's, I guess, I followed the griddle. And I came on Facebook, came up an event that was organized by the Sweaty Successful Moms, and I think that was one of the first events that Kristen and Leslie had put together. I'm like, well, that sounds interesting, and that's around.
And Melissa was there too, actually.
And
you two were at the very first. Well, our very first event you guys came to.
Oh, the spa one. No, that was actually the USENA one where you guys.
Sorry, that's right.
So, but that was really close. Anyway, so I started going there, and I'm like, okay, these people are more in line with what I believe in. Like that feels more in line with what I think is true. And so I start following them and go to all of the events. And a year down the road, I guess, I joined Kristen and Leslie, but they had already had their wake up call. And so I had my intuition, like I wanted to follow things that are more natural, connected to the earth. And then when I found my community, I felt supported and encouraged to dig deeper. And I've been digging into it since then. And now I'm digging even more through all that stuff that's going on. I think this for me also right now is, I don't know, something big too as well, to speak my truth, which like all of us, or part of Melissa and Leslie, maybe not Kristen so much, but I hate confrontation. I hate conflicts, and I've always been very quiet and listening. And even though I would not agree, not always, but most of the time, I'm just being quiet. And I do not want to do that anymore in a meaningful and constructive way, not in a disgraceful way. So that's my story.
I love it. I don't know if I love conflict and confrontation. I think I just don't.
You're not afraid of it, maybe? Are you not?
Maybe.
Well, yeah, no, I'm yeah, that's right. I am more like I don't want it.
No, I'm just teasing, because I do get myself into a lot of trouble because I'm not able to ignore things and let things go. And I think I talked about that in one of my posts, and my mom was like, "Can't you just like suck up to like your teachers?" And I was like, "No, Mom, I can't. If I see something, if I disagree like with it, like I need to speak up." So I don't know, it's positive, it's a fault, it's all the things. It gets me into some trouble, but yeah, so here.
You know, have you guys ever watched like old movies, especially movies that have Brits in them, like English movies, how they could disagree and still be polite?
Yes.
Like Sound of Music, that comes to mind.
Yes,
right? I was just like, man, they're insulting each other like politely and like differing point of views. And I'm like, how do we get back to that we can have open discussions where it's not an attack on our ego, that it's just not connecting the way that we're trying, right? Because that could be a whole other podcast, but
yes. Yeah,
I was just gonna say verbal communication. This is maybe this is our next topic. Maybe this is the next thing we talk about is how you can actually what is communication? Because I was even saying to Justin today, I was like, when we think about your work environment, when you have to actually talk so perfectly because you can't offend somebody in any way, that your perfect communication is that even communication at all?
No, it's censored communication.
It's censored communication, and like there must be a better way to communicate. And I think it's not just with your words, but your body language, but also with your heart, and in a safe place, and equally talking with empowered people that they can be connected to their own safe place, so that you can insult someone and them not be insulted.
And not be a personal attack, right? It can be like you can disagree with someone's argument without it being a personal attack.
Absolutely.
Which I think is really important.
Having a constructive discussion.
Yeah.
And
I think the accents help, like, let's be honest.
Yes. Totally. So if we all get really angry about something, we can just turn like British. Be like,
yes.
As a matter of fact, I'm completely not in agreement.
Yeah. See, it already made a difference.
Yeah.
And I'll just sing my way through. When I get upset, I say, I don't like you.
Totally.
There you go, Leslie. You have another topic for Leslie's living room.
Singing your way through strife.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Melissa, for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I don't know, hopefully people still this was kind of like one of our longer talks. Hopefully people stayed on and listened. If not, the recording is there, and it's up for you guys to come back and listen as you go and have time. So again, if anybody is interested, want to learn more about the Meaningful More program, if you would like to have a Creating Clarity call where we talk about where you're at, where you want to be, and what's getting in the way, and we provide some intuitive insight to help you overcome those obstacles, we're giving those, they're free. Just you can connect with us. It's a great time just to kind of have some conversation right now while we're all home. Why not? And like we've been talking about, need some community. So please reach out and have a call with us, because we just love talking to people, as you can tell. And stay tuned for our weekly Sweaty Truths. If there's a topic you want us to cover, please share so we can dive into that deeper. Otherwise, you're just going to get to listen to what is on our hearts and mind as we kind of start exploring more of our truth and using our voices. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Anything else anybody wants to add to sign off?
Just remember that the more you uncover the truth, the more you can experience love in your life.
Yes.
And the more you can be uniquely you.
I wonder if we should have like, or you guys, because I'm totally just like hanging out with y'all today, but I wonder if you guys could have like one easy thing for us to research and discover our truth on. So like the first thing for me that I ever researched was Teflon and nonstick, because I was nannying for a nurse and she came home from work one day, packed up all of her frying pans in front of me and threw them in the trash. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's just like, I just attended a seminar and learned how bad Teflon is for us. And I was like, yeah. So I went home and Googled. Yeah. Teflon. So like, what if we start having like, instead of a weekly book club, like a weekly research topic that we can touch on?
Okay. Teflon. If you have not looked up Teflon, look up Teflon. And if you want the Coles notes of Teflon, if you are cooking with a Teflon pan and there's a bird right beside you, they are very likely to die. There's your Coles notes.
There's your Coles notes. Or watch the movie Dark Water if you're like, I don't want to read things. Watch the movie Dark Water. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. So yeah, we'll kind of end our talks with like one thing to look into. I really like the idea of looking into Teflon. That one is huge. Non-stick pans, everyone. When there's a convenience, a sacrifice is made.
Always.
You just have to dig into where that sacrifice lies.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.